The Crash Course Live is presented by Ultimate Derby, O'Reilly Auto Parts, and Speedway Motors, DerbyTees.com, New York Slider Shafts, Baldwin Racing Engines, Performance Rear Ends, and Chambliss Welding. This is the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast, coming to you live from Blizzard Bash 2014 at the Topeka Expo Center in Topeka, Kansas. And now your host, Chris Musgrove.
Good morning. Whoops. A little slow on the uptake on that one. Never good when that kind of stuff starts to become habit, you know?
I don't think it's habit. I think it's lack of sleep. Is what I really
could
think
be part of it. I'm willing to agree with that. I'll go with you on that one. Fun day ahead of us today, man. This is Championship Sunday here at Blizzard Bash 2014 in the Kansas Expo Center. Ready to go here. Action will kick off about 2 o'clock. We've got the trucks on deck. We're also going to have the pro mods. We're going to be seeing some of the outlaw compacts. Everybody's just about out of gas. The 80 Leaf cars, and then the main championship is going to be the final thing that we see on the track as we crown a new Blizzard Bash champion. Team Black, the underdogs, are going to be in the finals against Matt Schilling's black, blue, and gray team. Robbie Gustin drove unbelievable last night in the second A main to get his teammates to the championship, picking away at David Gockel, a former Blizzard Bash champion in his own right, picking away at Bobby Whitaker and the wagon, and they punched their ticket, and there they are. They are now squarely in the main event with the opportunity to take home an extra $5,000 after they cashed that $5,000 check last night.
And by no means, I mean, like you said, he had to definitely drive that heat. I mean, Bobby drove drove the wheels right off the wagon.
Literally.
Literally, and definitely going to be another super exciting day, action-packed. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, I'm looking forward to I'm looking forward to a little bit more of the mod cars that are coming out. Was out there, Brian and I walked through this morning, seeing some of the, there's a couple Leaf converted Vics out there, trucks out there. I mean, it was just, it makes me chuckle. I like seeing stuff like that.
You were having a conversation with one of the inspectors yesterday, and they said that this is what they want to see, and they were pointing to some of the cages and stuff inside the cars. I mean, what'd you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, they have. I talked to a couple different ones, and one of the older guys I talked to had been around ran for a great number of years. I mean, I think he ran his first Derby when I was like 6, I think. So that was back in 78. So he's seen all the progression, of the sport from when it was then right till it is today, this weekend. And everybody has their personal views, and we got talking and looking at the cages and some of the stuff inside the cars, and it was more like the toned back. Not really. You can't say the stock. They call it stock built cars here, chain whatever, wire class stock cars or whatever they call it here, but more out East Coast ways that would have been more our limited weld cages, and. I don't know. Like I said, everybody's got their opinion, and I have some agreements to it, and some other parts of it. If I was to come out to a show like this, I would definitely be putting cages in like we seen when we first got here.
Absolutely.
Because there's guys. I mean, there was guys last night. I mean, I think Rosno was talking that his cage was bent. It bent his door bars, bent his plate he had on his driver's door and his door bars. So I mean, that takes a lot of extreme force to bend something like that. I mean, and the impacts they're taking, and there's definitely a lot of sore people out there today for sure.
Well, we were sitting here last night with Pete Hansen, and as we went off the air, Pete he'd been sitting here for a while. He came up, and as we went off the air, he kind of stretched like we all do after been sitting. He's like, "Ooh, I'm pretty sore," So I mean, it's definitely.
We see Josh. I mean, this is how. I mean, we're here, and these guys. I got to give it to these 3 guys. Josh and Brian and Chris. I mean, to keep up the pace they were doing with the conversation and the talking. I mean, I got to give it to them 100% because I don't know how they do it really, and it's just an exhausting thing, doing this.
It's been very challenging. It has been, especially with some of the conditions inside as the steam and everything kind of packs up and loads up in the air. Ends up fighting a little bit uphill, and it is tiring. It's tiring to keep this stuff up, but at the same time, we absolutely love doing it, and it's been a ball so far, and I'm really looking forward to what this championship event is going to turn into. As we move into that final round, we'll talk a little bit about what we saw yesterday. Josh Decker joining us at the table. How was breakfast?
Yeah, breakfast was good.
Good.
Nice.
I didn't eat anything.
Oh,
Just enjoyed some fresh air on your way over.
I woke up, I felt like I was hit by a train. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because Chris and I went to bed at like 4 in the morning.
No, it's got to do with carbon monoxide, I'm sure.
Yeah, I felt like crap.
that'll flush out of your system in a couple hours.
I had to just stand outside for a minute and just breathe air.
Yeah, it was a different experience, wasn't it?
Yeah, I just didn't feel well. But.
Some of the results that we saw yesterday: compact stocks. Randy Maslowski, no steering, comes away with a win, all the way from Mapleton, Minnesota. Randy Maslowski, the promoter of Winter Slam in Garden City,
and he's still sleeping. I just talked to his wife. He got in about 6:30 in the morning.
Good for you.
She said.
If you're going to celebrate the win, man, you might as well celebrate it right.
She said he comes stumbling in. I think he was sleeping a while, so I was okay.
he's gonna hate himself when he wakes up too.
Alex has had a nice trophy to take home with him.
Well, that's
cash.
true.
Ace Performance Old Iron Stock, Mike Dunwald from Hope, South Dakota, came away with the win in that one in a dogfight. Ended up taking first place over the number 34 of Derek Orth. We had Jared Beatty up here from Jerseyville, Illinois. He came up and hung out with us for a little while on that Ace Performance Old Iron Stock rules, but at the same time, he said that he likes it when you can build a car and run it 13 times before you have to put it on the shelf.
Bennett. Oh, is my mic on? I don't know.
Yeah, it is.
You're on.
It's interesting to hear, I think about our area that would say, modified cars. No one would say they want to build them, but it's interesting. You come out here and it's like they don't even know about running stock. It's not even like a thing to them. It's just like, no, we all just build these crazy modified style cars. It's just interesting how some area just accepts things and other areas just fight the exact same thing.
It kind of makes sense to me. I mean, I would rather build a car, build the heck out of the car, and be able to run it multiple times, just because in the end of the day, it's a time saver.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I get that,
and we've heard other guys. It wasn't. I don't think it was. Maybe it was Chris Quinzler that we had on after you guys ran down to PA, or maybe it was before. I don't remember exactly. Things are kind of jumbled right now, but they said that it's nice to build one car and fix it. Where they run, obviously they're allowed to run fix-it plates, so to speak, and pull it down, fix it, and run it, as opposed to building 6 or 7 new cars throughout the year.
Chad Dyer said that.
I thought it was Koch.
Yeah.
He said that too.
I don't know. It was one of the guys we've talked to this year.
Was
I get that, but this is the nastiest one, right? And you put all this time and effort, and then you go to the track and you first back-to-back shot, bam, you break a leaf spring pack or something, just something. And it's like, man, I just put all that work in the one.
For sure.
I've been there.
I drove 14 and a half hours to get stuck on a little dirt berm. In the first heat. And I'm all done for the whole weekend.
So I'm surprised that style build just doesn't.
I mean, I was talking to the same guy. He goes, yeah, we used to only be able to run a bar behind our seat and a bar at the dash. But he goes, I would have a local sandblaster come in and sandblast all the inside seams, outside seams, underneath seams, and everything else. He goes, you'd weld every seam in the car, seat and car back then. So now you're doing it. You can't do all.
That car was stock because you're not adding anything to it.
Oh yeah.
It's all you're doing is finishing up what Detroit did. I mean, we've all seen cars where welds get missed at the factory, and this is straight up. I mean, everybody that has run a derby has brought a Chevy or a Chrysler home and found where there's missed welds and bodies where the bodies have popped and this and that, and with this they're just they're using the car and just making it better. Welding every seam, rolling up drip edges and welding them, and it just
that's just everybody's version of being the quality control.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Ben. If you have let's say you have two subframes next to each other, two shocker subframes right next to each other. One you're going to take right from the factory, you're going to stick it on your car, and you're going to smash it and the other one you're going to frame seam, weld all the seams on it, just down the rail, flip it over down the rail.
Mhm.
How much do you think that really gains a lot of strength? How much strength do you think that?
I think it
Is it worth the time every time?
I think it's worth the time just because in the factories it's a production type environment. I work in a factory myself, just a production type environment. You have a quality standard that you have to be held to, and don't give me, this is not a shot at any companies or factories or anything else, but it is definitely not up to par to what we're doing with these with a product.
Mm-hmm.
So if a robot or a robotic being robotic welded, there's tolerances they have. All right, so you look at the frames. That's why you see these frames. Some of these frames.
There's tolerances they have, such as missing.
Well, no, I mean literally, seriously, Josh. I mean, you've had frames out. You've looked at frames. It's like, wow, that frame looks like it was put together pretty good. Them welds were hitting each flange and everything else. Next thing you know, you look at the next frame and it's like, holy shit, what'd they do this on a Friday afternoon?
Yeah, Friday afternoon.
And that's always been a big joke, And
I run a shocker frame one time. It was maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and it blew out. I run it one run. It blew out right underneath my firewall, and it was clean. The car was spotless, man. I paid $1,000 for it, just the shell. It was spotless. Blows apart. I look underneath there, probably halfway down the bottom side of the A-arm.
Was he welded?
All the way back to the mount.
Yeah.
Not a touch of weld on there, and I'm like, what the heck? And I never looked at it.
That's like a sensor, or it didn't get put in a jig right, and the robot doesn't know.
No,
it knows
right.
it's got to hit this point, and go to this point with a touch sensor on it. Today they're a lot more automated, but I mean back then that's what they were looking at.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? It's not coming apart at the factory. If you're driving it down the road, it ain't going to come apart. But
right.
You put it in
when you're running into a wall, that's what the insurance company's for.
Mm-hmm.
In our process, and that's what I mean. To answer the question a long way around the block, I definitely feel yes, it is worth it.
And that's, I mean, as I've progressed longer in running, my cars have run longer, and obviously the longer you run, the more damage you do. And I had a Newport, and it was a cherry Newport, and same thing. Right in front of the firewall, the frame opened, and there was probably an inch and a half gap between the sides of the frame. And that was just from hitting, and. I actually, our buddy Kyle Collinsworth that promotes the hometown fair, he has a rollback, and usually he'll help me, at the end of the season, haul my stuff to the scrapyard. And I said, hey, I want to show you something. And I brought him over and opened the hood, and he was amazed. I mean, he's run derbies forever, and I said, that's what happens. I said, remember, because we had talked about seam weld. He had asked me some stuff about seam welding, and I said, that's what seam welding does, and it would definitely. Add that much more.
And it also puts perspective in too, Josh. And after that happened to you, the next time you went and bought a car.
Especially Chrysler. I just been watch that seam
exactly.
all the way down.
It's that learning curve where you when you go look for a car, it's like because they're sporadic, they're not 100% consistent. And
the other day I had a friend call me, and I don't want to say his name only because he still has the car. But it was a shocker, and from in front of the A-arm, halfway up to past where the bumper shock bolts, the factory burnt through it or something. It's weird. It's like maybe it's a gap. And he goes, "What do I do with this?" He wanted to run it at a place where you can't seam weld. I go, "You can't run this." He's like, "Nah, what would you do here? You got it." And it's like you can't. It's the weirdest thing. I never seen him actually burn through it.
Well, that
or something. I think they burnt through it. It looks like they burnt through it.
One of the cars I did a couple years ago was the same way. It was like it was turned up or something, and it burnt right through. Mm-hmm. And it was like, of course I fixed it. But
yeah, which I told him but he wanted to run it at just a bone stock show, and I said personally I would not run it like it is.
I fixed it. He ran it at a bone stock show.
Okay, I hear you. Wink, wink.
I think Ben's a little better welder than you and I, Josh.
I can grind and grind and grind. That's
grind Grind, weld, grind, repeat.
Great. Yeah, well, I've
Ben, one day I want you to teach me the art of. Well, never mind. I'm gonna say it. I don't want. Never mind.
Yeah.
Moving on.
We're delirious from the fumes, so we're rambling.
Because I don't want other people to say, "Yeah, Ben, teach me that too."
Yeah, you're not hearing correctly what you're hearing right now.
Derby T's Old Iron Modified was yesterday evening, and in the midst of that 7-hour program, just a marathon day of Derby yesterday with the morning session and in the afternoon. It was a great time. We'll go through a little bit more of that. Warren Funk came away with the win in the Derby T's Old Iron Modified heat. He ended up topping a heat of about 20 or so old iron cars, and it was a great feature to watch.
Oh yeah, that's.
Yeah,
We all liked it. You know,
There we
I mean,
go.
I would love to run in that.
Yeah, that was very impressive.
They looked mean.
Ben Plate from Oskaloosa, Iowa, came home second in that with the number 73 of Chad Colbank taking home third. And the Transitions Restorations Youth Heat, we had a presentation coming up tonight from David Gard, the Transitions Award, where he basically gives a prize and some recognition to a guy who might not have gotten all the recognition that he necessarily deserved, or somebody who really came out of nowhere and is transitioning to the next level. We'll get into a couple of the names that we talked about from yesterday, and one of them is really standing out to me that we'll see.
David Gard really is a cool guy.
Oh yeah.
He's one of the guys, like, when you talk to him, he's so positive and supportive, but he's very genuine about it. You know, he really loves the sport and loves people that try to help the sport. It's simple as that. You be a good person, good things happen. He's like that kind of guy, and he's always telling you things like that. And it's like, Dave, you're just a great guy. You know, I really like him. And it's cool that he's giving this award out.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And last night he actually came up and sat down in front of us to the right and was watching the team show with his son Jeremy and their team. And just like at Bash for Cash, he was like the team dad. You could see him with each move and watching. And of course Jeremy had some terrible luck and had a
Broken torque converter, right?
Yeah, had a mechanical issue and didn't run anywhere near as long as he'd hoped. But it's funny to watch Dave because I mean he's he definitely cares about his son and the team and supporting him like a good dad would. And then after the fact, he came back up through again and stopped in and let me know what had happened with Jeremy. And yeah, Dave's one of those guys. Good guy.
Broken torque converter, as in
Brand spanking new torque converter.
bad inside it.
Brand new transmission. Put it in, hooked it to the motor, and quit working.
They pulled the tranny out last night, or it's the one that they brought. He run it originally in the first 49 seconds.
Yes, ran it.
No
then.
issue.
No issue.
No issue out back.
I think he said it was starting as they were coming in. He was having some issues, if I remember correctly, and then they just quit working.
Sucks.
So that was what ended up taking him out. The Transitions Restorations Youth feature was won by Lane Frericks. Did a great job in that. Really close battle with Peyton Connolly, and third place went to Devin Ortmeyer. A couple of the Nebraska boys finishing second and third to Lane Frericks, who's from Lamar's, Iowa.
That was a wide open heat.
Yeah, I was going to say there were some guest commentators on, so I was.
Kenny
I was-
Rosno was up here with us for
Yeah,
it.
I was standing back watching. I couldn't remember. We had a lot of people on yesterday, but they said go, and those kids, young people were on the gas.
They were last year too. It was the same thing. It's like,
Yeah.
man, I was saying as it started, these kids have no fear because they're so young. They don't
Nothing
know.
hurts yet.
No,
They don't know that it's going to hurt.
exactly,
eventually.
Brian. And that's why it was so cool. Last year was the same thing. They just went wide open. The kid with the blue Chevy Impala, first shot of the night,
Tore
they
half his hood off.
He's lucky he wasn't in the carburetor because the car was over his carburetor
Oh,
and the
yeah.
one stack was bent.
Yep.
And that's how far it pushed back. Broke his radiator.
And he finished second.
And he just flat-footed from then on out.
Yep.
He was just attacking.
Yeah, it was awesome to watch.
He was attacking the whole time. It was pretty cool because the shocker was trying to be more methodical. The guy that was in the shocker, Lane, the winner, he drove great. He was
Great running Mopar.
he knew the Chevy was chasing him the whole time, and there was a couple times he hid behind cars or did some donuts or whatever, and he really drove great, and he deserved to win. The ending was fantastic.
Yeah, it was.
The ending was fantastic when the tire blew past him, but he still shoved him in the wall.
Yeah,
And then-
that was awesome.
Oh my god, that was just such a
Broke
great
the center of the
ending.
wheel out.
Yeah.
Yep.
We saw that happen again in the next event that was on the track was O'Reilly National Championship B mains. The first B main on the track, Team Kansas came away with a win, and that in somewhat of a romp.
That was awesome.
They ran pretty strong.
They jumped
and
quickly.
the Sam Bandow scored in 4th place overall. The Team Pink Camo, the Molmans, had things really in their hand except for one or two bad decisions in the span of about a minute and a half, and Jimmy Johnson and Team Kansas ended up putting 3 of them in the dirt.
There was a time
Right now.
There was
Yeah.
a time down here. It was 4-on-1 or 4-on, right?
Yeah.
It was 4-on-1 or 4-on-2. When they got him over here, Jimmy put on a clinic on blocking.
Yeah.
Dude, when
Yeah.
he went sideways and blocked them.
Yeah, you were not going to get that car off the wall.
Yeah.
Dude, that was such great. Think of that's team driving.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We talked about yesterday, there's different rules out here. His mentality is so team when he's out there. He's so
Oh.
smart with that. The blocking
Yeah, it
like,
was
that was so
and those
awesome.
and that got 2 of the Team Pink cars so focused on trying to get to it was Joel Molman, excuse me, I think it was Scott Svingen that was stuck in the corner that Jimmy was blocking for, and then Jenny and Joe Molman were both trying to get to him. They became so focused on that. Markley came along, not Markley, Montgomery came along and hit Jenny, turned Jenny around, and Jimmy then just moved forward a little bit in the throttle and was able to sink her in the dirt and backed up, and on the backup shot took out the steering on Joel Molman's car. And then from there, Dustin Keithan's car, and that was when Montgomery got a hold of Joe Molman, and he didn't move from that spot again after he came across the track and drilled him. And I believe that was a drive shaft problem on that car, but I can't say that definitively. Another news out of that one was that Mopar Express has lost their spot in the primary bracket after
Huge
finishing
news.
after finishing 4th overall in that.
Yeah,
not
it's tough.
the team you would think would, again, on paper, this is why you derby. On paper, that wouldn't have been a team that you'd say go home. Not that anybody is, but I'm like, that's a good team.
But we said it coming in, that there's a very good chance a big team will not be in the finals until 2016, and it happened.
Yep.
I mean, they don't get much bigger than Mopar Express. I mean, they're a very well-known team.
Got to give some credit to Jimmy Johnson too. He ran Rick Englehart's roof sign and said some very, very kind things for Rick and for Rick's family, and sent a lot of thoughts back to the Northeast Derby community and everybody that knew Rick, and that meant a lot to a lot of people. And then Rick was also featured on a very moving Fallen Drivers video that they played following the second B main, which was won by the Army Green and Black team. Zach Fetro was not among the final 3 running. He was certainly a force out there on the track, but it was his teammates Matt Rosno, Kurt Strong, and Scott Mannering were the last 3 cars standing in a very busy and full second B main. Blake Thomason's team is not going to be in the main bracket next year. Team Blue and Yellow looked like they were in very, very dire straits, but they were able to get one of their cars back up to speed, and ultimately it was Blake Thomason, Colin Sleezer, Kyle Freeman, Michael Maxton that are going to be relegated to the qualifying team show coming up next year.
That was the one with the 44 shocker.
That was Gomat was it? That was Gomat.
Yeah.
Richard Gomat, right.
The Golden Goblin. I mean,
And he had
it-
his.
Wait, the
he had
shocker
his,
was the Golden Goblin?
yes.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, dude, he's got. I got old dent videos of him on there, and in the back ends of his shockers did exactly what it did here, and he just
and he
he was
shattered
always
that rear
there.
wheel.
He was always there at the end, always,
But
and
like-
he just
The thing about a shocker is, which I was realizing out there, if you shelf it, okay, imagine you shelf the top of it, peel the skin off, right? And that buckles down. Them leaf, he never was like digs in the dirt like a Vic, because
Right.
the leaf springs constantly are giving pressure upwards on it. So they were like shelving it, but as you notice, it didn't do nothing. Finally, someone caught it,
and brought it up.
brought it up, and it's like, okay, now, if he had tires still, imagine, now let's go back, if it didn't get flat tires, how that car would have been.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It actually was, for the longest time, 3/4 through that heat, it was straight as an arrow.
Yes.
Do you remember? Until it got a flat, then it got peeled. Then
Yeah, I specifically watched him because I mean I've watched him for a long time in different videos, and I was very anxious to see how he made out.
What do you think he's doing back there? Because there's not much you could do.
No,
He didn't talk. He didn't. It was
Yeah,
just
it was
straight
just-
with a bumper.
yeah,
Interesting.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm, for the most part, very impressed with how well the Mopars have held up this weekend.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
everybody always says, you need a full framer. And I mean, they haven't won per se, but I think in about every class they've been right there at the end. You know what I mean?
They're a contender.
It hasn't. It has not been that the rear end. I mean, days in the past, you've gone to Ohio and they just get the rear ends tore off them. Well, we haven't seen that here.
No.
It's been other stuff that's gotten them, and I definitely think again, great builders. That's not your average Mopar, but great builders. Those cars can compete out here too.
Think of it this way.
I tell you though, but there really aren't over. I mean, it's when you look at the back ends and you look at what they can do back there and with the leaf spring packs and the clamps and everything else, they're not that far off from the rear doors back from a lot of some other shows out our way.
Yeah,
that's what shocks me, and that's other than rear ends and the
Ben, I was thinking the same thing, but the negative of it is you're right, but it almost to me looks like, man, we're maybe making ours too strong out there, because then you're going to start buckling in the front. You've got to be able to tie the subs together, the front and back together, which here they can, because they can run down bars and kickers and all that,
right,
per different class, but they are allowed to tie them in, and the 9-wire rules here and all that stuff. I mean, so a Mopar here with a strong built back, like you're saying, now all of a sudden, them things are contenders.
Yes.
Those things are contenders.
On the topic of contenders, we had the A mains as well, paying $5,000 each. In the first A main, it was Team Underdogs: Brent Clemens, Daryl Monroe, Luke Johnson, Eric Blom, punching their ticket into the championship round tonight. They are the co-A main winners, along with Blue Black Primer Gray, Matt Schilling, Jesse Ravich, Eric Schneckloth, and Robbie Gustin. Those two teams are going to be going head to head, 4-on-4 for another $5,000 here, capping this afternoon program, which rolls off at 2:00. The pay-per-view stream should go live right around 1. Bob Meyer, first car in the round back, he was put in the dirt, and the showstopper of that heat was Team Tan and Black, Ryan Songalewski, who completely locked up a motor.
Blew it to pieces.
Blew it apart.
To pieces. And then Pete Hansen, who came out with a laboring transmission, was struggling to keep any reverse. At one point, he had no reverse. He took a hard shot in the back end, and apparently it shifted the transmission forward, and it magically repaired itself. I don't know. It was Luke Johnson that parked on the back, and Pete indicated that maybe when he was up there, he flipped the switch and gave him reverse back, but he almost rolled Luke over, but he didn't. He promised Luke that he wasn't going to, and I
had a couple people message me and thinking maybe torque converter, because I've actually heard that in the past, where when it warmed up, the torque converter was allowing reverse to kick back in. I actually had like 3 or 4 messages of that last night. Not saying that's
cool.
What it is. I don't know. Maybe possibly something to think about.
I was thinking maybe enough pieces of metal started floating around in there where reverse was just when he was shifting into it, it would engage.
I'm not a tranny guy, but I'm
well, just
you don't usually get that. When it's done, especially reverse.
Yeah, it's usually gone.
You're done. I've never had one just.
But it healed itself.
Like
it's Pete Hansen. It healed itself.
But then again,
he waved his magic wand.
But then again, we're thinking more Mopar trannies and
exactly right.
GMs are completely different beasts. So who knows?
Just imagine if he didn't lose his front wheel.
Oh yeah, he'd have won that hands down.
Jason Dials comes down to 4th place. Pete lost the front wheel, and it just peeled right off of that corner, and from there he was fighting uphill with that.
That Cordoba did stay straight for a long time, right? I'm just thinking about that. That thing actually looked not bad.
I saw an after picture, and it didn't bend like at the front tires like they normally do, like a lot of them do. The front end looked solid. I was very impressed with that.
One of them was still straight. The other one was bad on the driver's side. That's like how them Cordobas do it. They kind of like, if you start hitting with that one corner, they just start lifting. They start bending right at the firewall too, Mm-hmm. And I was impressed with them, to be honest. I wanted to see Cordobas here, and like that right there said to me, like, all right, a Cordoba can win any local town show up our way.
Absolutely. Built properly,
right? Right.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No,
I thought we were talking about. Then we were talking about actually Pete.
Yeah, we had Pete's car was
when his wheel went off past him. I could see. He said it last night when he was on here. He's like, when my wheel fell off, because it went right past him. If you remember.
Well, they had a red flag, and he looked out, and his bumper was laying beside him, getting carried around by his number 9 wire.
He goes, I was so mad. He flicked the switch in his head. He's like, I get mad about that. Which, I can understand it. You know, it's the instant. Your adrenaline, even though your adrenaline's pumping, it goes even faster all of a sudden when you realize you're now hurt.
Yeah.
You're like,
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's like, oh no, you know, and you're all of a sudden like game plan.
Now you're thinking, well, I just smoked these guys like 3 or 4 times. Now I'm the wounded duck. So guess what? Now it's my turn. I'm going to get the other end of the under end of the bat.
And he was at that's where it gets nerve wracking, where you can start breaking stuff because guys can start clearing. Like imagine you're pointed down on your front right corner. Someone comes in and clears it, like we seen in the green and black when Mike Brown just went
Shattered
through an
block.
engine. Yeah, with the front of that homemade bumper. I mean, you know, and that's when you start breaking stuff, and that is not when Derby is fun. You know.
In the second one, I think this is fair to call it a surprise. Blue, black, and gray going into the championship round coming up later today over DMP and Guard Speed Shop and former champions Team Black and White David Gockel.
Yeah,
Blake.
that wasn't predictable at all.
No, it's not anyway. Well,
but Schilling is.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean,
Schilling's really good. We said that to start. I mean, he is a guy that could be there at the end. Absolutely, build some really good stuff.
Schilling was the third car out. It was Jesse Ravich and the guy who opened eyes like you wouldn't believe this weekend. I mean, MVP of the blue, black, and primer gray team, Robbie Gustin. He was even hung up on the wall, and he never panicked. He never got rattled. He never got antsy. He just picked his shots, looked comfortable, calm, and that he was so impressive out there.
You know, another thing I'm thinking of now, I'm just looking at that sheet, Chris. I'm looking at states. Not only is draw important, but your local statesmen's draws are important, because look at a heat as that one with four different teams. 2 of the teams are from Iowa.
yes.
Then we got a Missouri and Illinois. Now, just in your head, looking at that,
Indiana.
you'd say,
Indiana.
I'm sorry.
Indiana.
In your head, you'd say, okay, these guys are going to team up. There's 4 of them out here, 2 of them in the same state. You got to imagine in your head these are going to team up. Now, luckily ends up one of them winning. And I would say that if it was truly ever, and I'm not saying this it wasn't, but you would think that a lot of that starts going on out there, and it's important. On a lot of these, if you just get a draw of another team that you know, it could also super help you get through the weekend.
I tell you, the other team that was wicked nasty in that the black and white team, I mean, they were right there.
They won this in 2012.
They were duking at the end. I mean, they were duking it right down to the end.
And the finish order, it was very spread out. I mean, we talked about Jeremy Gard with his problems early on. Bobby Whitaker ended up getting down to 4th overall in that. The number 20 of David Gockel finishing 3rd behind Ravich and Gustin. Behind Bobby Whitaker was the 69er of Mike Brown, and then Bobby Brockway, and then Cordell Hansen. I mean, it was a really, really deep mix as they went down through. It didn't have that feel where you had 2 teams working together against the other 2.
There was a lot of good driving in that heat, and it was really fun to watch, and everybody was using the entire track.
Oh, yeah.
Whitaker's wagon, I loved watching Whitaker's wagon. I mean, he was driving it backwards, and he didn't care what he was hitting with it, but his foot was in it, and the thing was bending around, but it was looking really good. I mean, it had a lot of life left in it, and it was too bad he got front flats, because it really hindered him.
And the front flat the left front flat was early.
And
early.
somebody got a hold of his right front tire and I bent the A-frame bad, and then it was downhill from there.
But the front of it looks still straight at the end, and I mean, he had a lot of life left, and that's where it comes down to. Sometimes just the simplest things, as tires, totally changed the night for him.
Yeah, I was, again, we weren't surprised at how well that wagon did, because again, it's a Whitaker wagon. I mean, but I think it's been proven. I don't think he would have any problem bringing one back next year and feeling that he had the car capable of winning.
I did not think they were super big targets.
No.
You would usually say, guys are just going to drive the ass of them, but they didn't. I didn't see a lot of them.
Well, yeah, he would say they were in that.
They were when they got him down there in the corner, they did a lot of damage.
Yeah,
but I'm saying throughout the heat, he was leading with it.
Oh yeah,
more than just absorbing shots from people.
Yeah, he was delivering blows with it. I agree.
Yeah. He was driving with it
because he's that's his wheelhouse car.
No doubt.
Yeah.
He knows exactly what he can do with the back of that, and
just drive all night.
Yeah.
Drive Miss Daisy backwards.
Another thing I wanted to touch on quick is that
Try to miss Daisy
is the driving talent we've seen this weekend. I mean, how many guys? We said it with Randy Maslowski early in that show. He loses steering, wins it.
Yep.
Bobby Brockway loses steering early, makes it down to 4th or 5th. I mean, how many guys have we seen lose steering? Boom, when they're still there at the end. I mean, and it's not like that they're just on the track and accidentally making a bump. I mean, Pete Hansen, another one, no tire. They are out there and they are maneuvering. They're making hits. They're not being teamed up on. It's amazing the caliber of drivers we're watching here. It's great. I mean,
and it's about being able to adapt, and that's what's really cool to watch. These guys, as soon as they get a problem, then they're counteracting that problem and still driving great. It's not like they're panicking and just hold it wide open like most of us would do and just junk stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
They say, okay, broke into no steering. All right, you see them using the brake, the gas at the same time, all that stuff, spin themselves around, and then they line up a shot, and then they just hold it and make some really good shots. Like Hirschman was doing at the end of the night.
Absolutely.
On JYD, man, he was.
We'll get into that team.
That was
team,
crazy.
The qualifying Team A, which ended the night right around, I don't know, I think it was 20-2, something like that here local time. Before that, we had the Speedway Motors 80s modified, the full size, 80s modified. The winner of that was Kurt Gegg, and you were talking about the driving talent that we saw. The Gegg boys, how good did they look?
Oh, they were.
Yeah,
Kurt and Tom Gegg,
just picking apart. They were making some really good shots.
And I think Gage Sumner also deserves some recognition. The Psycho Jimmy number 11, he was hung up a couple times, and he's another guy who didn't get. He never lost his calm. He stayed nice and easy. He waited. He kept making noise. He kept rocking it. It drew enough attention from somebody else who would think that they maybe need to just kind of poke at him and see if that's still something to worry about. And that little bit of a poke would always get him broken free. And he was able to drive down to second. And then it was
nasty tough.
And then Justin Comer coming up
They
with
really were.
Justin Comer coming up with 3rd and 4th place was Tom Gegg, and they were awesome cars.
Yeah, because I mean, like last year, Dookie was there. Dookie
Scroach, man.
And he got
what a tough break. First car out.
Yeah, got dingered on the wall, and there he sat. And Shea Walton also, he's usually one right there at the end, and he made a
second car out. So the first 2 cars out of the 80s modified, Dookie Scroach, Jamie Frost.
Right,
yes.
right.
And both them guys, I mean, just
top notch.
Yeah, they're usually there at the end. It's usually, you get down to the top 5 or 6, and it's like, it was like bam, 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 bam. But man, 100%, the Gegg boys just, I was up here just watching, and I was like, you could tell. You could tell in the corner of their eye, they're looking out for one another, and
they did a couple times. I've seen them taking care of each other.
For sure. They're not that old. Really?
No, they're in young 20s.
Yeah, we met them out to Arkansas. Well,
I know they both got Jimmy drivetrains. I mean, they have proven drivetrains. So, and as we seen again last night, there was no hiccups.
Yeah, I mean, it was just awesome watching them.
And then the end of the night, we had the qualifying team show. First and second place finishing teams were going to be punching their ticket to the main team bracket next year. Going in, JYD will be in the round of 16 next year after Mike Worth and Jaron Hirschman went 1-2 in that event.
I got to see Mike Worth outside before I come in here, and they were excited.
Oh,
they were feeling it because they went out Mike Worth had some family come in from California, I think, super far, wherever. They came in, his first heat, didn't do much, broken fuel pump. He's like, man, I just wanted to go put on a show, and he goes, I hope I was, lighting it up, and him and Hirschman together were just on fire. And anyone that fell asleep last night that's watching, if you're going to go back and go watch that last heat, the last one of the night, JYD. The heat was flat-footed. I was falling asleep. Yeah. When that started, man, I was pumped. I mean, what a great derby it was. And they were proud of themselves. You could see the smile on his face that they finally got a good run out in front of him.
And here's a fact that I don't know if anybody else realized. Both those 2 teams that finished 1-2 were battling with KO Motorsports at the end of their heats to qualify.
Right.
So I mean, that's that's kind of, I mean, KO did a great job, but that's kind of got to give them a boost. To, hey, we lost to the two teams that are moving up to the, the I don't know what you'd say, the other bracket next
The
year.
main bracket.
Main bracket next year.
Danny Ort's team deserves. I said to them, they should go home proud. I mean,
super
don't
props,
look at it
yeah.
like you guys got beat, because that's not how I look at it. You guys went out and put a hell of a show. You were kind of outnumbered at times. You kind of were the underdog, and you kind of had things stacked against you. And you guys went out there and you're blasting stuff.
Hang on just one second here. Sam Williams was going to be on the morning show, and
I was
then
gonna say, I think we should get the boss on.
I lost track with it. We were supposed to meet with Derby Tees this morning, and then everybody's directions ended up getting pulled in different directions here. And I know he wanted to be on the show and talk a little bit. So I mean, it's definitely somebody that we want to have on. I would hope he's a pretty happy guy. We've had a pretty successful and busy weekend here.
Brandon Tyson tells me they've had
I got
filter
the
suck
same
against
note.
the valve
I was
body and lose forward or reverse, which I could definitely see that, because you're just not getting fluid. And if you have a clogged filter, yeah, I could definitely see that. So.
Yeah.
Yep, that could definitely be. We got to imagine Pete had everything brand new.
Oh, absolutely. But
they don't.
I can't
like,
believe
like
all
I
the-
said to Jeremy Gard, it doesn't matter if you buy everything brand new. If you do everything the right way, bad luck can still bite you in the ass.
Well, what I say to people is, I work in an industry where I sell machinery, parts, things like that. Every factory knows that there's going to be an amount of defect.
Absolutely. So
So let's say you go buy I had this said to me once. Let's say you go buy 100 distributors, brand new in the box, drop it in. There is, I think it's 1% defect, but there's going to be a number that are bad.
Yeah,
The factory knows that when they send it.
guaranteed.
So who's to say you buy all these brand new parts for a derby car? Think of everything that's getting all those brand new parts. There possibly could be something bad in there right from the factory.
It's possible. I mean, we encounter that every day. I can't believe the number of posts of people who have literally spent all weekend either flipping between the live pay-per-view or trying to go back and watch the replay. Sam Williams coming on in and having a quick seat.
And people have messaged me at 4 o'clock in the morning.
watching
Let's
more,
see
just
his
going back
replay.
and watching more and watching more and watching more. Sam, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
How was your nap?
Yeah, that's about right. We got 2.5 hours in the last 2 nights.
And,
Wow.
That's not bad, is it? I was kind of impressed.
And it's nothing to do with any partying or any craziness either. You guys were leaving here at 4 o'clock, still doing cleanup and setting the stage for what we're going to see today.
Yeah, we were loading cars till about 4 o'clock this morning, and the guys were already on it again this morning, getting everything cleaned up. So, yeah, we were loaded cars till 4, and then the teams had to start fixing cars at 6. So
And there was
they've
a
been
line of-
rocking since 6 o'clock this morning.
There was a line of guys out there waiting to get to him.
And I must admit, I did oversleep, and so they didn't get in until 6:15. So yeah, they did get in there, and they're rocking
It's
now.
a good thing you got that extra 15 minutes.
It
Sam.
was.
That's got to be just amazing.
I
huh,
feel
bud?
like $1 million.
They're Zamboniing the midway over there.
For a minute. Holy cow.
How has Blizzard Bash 2014 been from your perspective?
It's blown away every expectation I had.
Really?
Yeah. The crowd has been awesome. We've had a blast. It's turned into a big derby party.
Yeah,
And I mean the entertainment has been unreal with the drivers. I mean, these guys have laid it all on the line every day, every heat. We have not had one issue of sandbagging and driving in circles.
No,
And
not at all.
The track is super, super fast. There's a few things we've made a list of that we're going to fix for next year to make the show even better. But every year we can just keep making it better.
Exactly.
You're not even done with this one,
Fine tuning.
and you're already fine tuning.
He was like that last year.
I know.
He
I
was
know.
just like that last year, saying the
you
same
know,
stuff.
I love that mentality.
Last night did run a little late, but I mean, how about the show that last heat was?
Oh,
I mean,
man.
as a promoter, you've got to be just ecstatic. I mean, because
End of
it
the
did
night.
run a little late, and some people left the arena, but to have that be the last show, I mean that was as hard hitting as the beginning. Friday night. I mean, that was an incredible heat.
And that's what is so exciting to me is those guys aren't running for much money.
Right.
That was $4,000 to win. That's $1,000 a guy.
Yeah.
Your county fair pays more than that.
Yeah.
All they're trying to do is get into the big show, and
boy,
it was
did
so
they.
cool when I went out and told them, I went up to all 8 of those drivers and shook their hand and said, "Welcome to the big show." You could see it all over their face was, "We're in. We got it."
Yep,
and
absolutely.
I love that there's that much desire to get into a demolition derby that between you guys and us, and we all built together, and it's exciting.
Well, I got to talk to Mike Wirth this morning. I was saying earlier, Sam, and I said, man, it's got to be exciting to be in the main one now. And he's like, that's all we wanted, man. That's all we wanted, you know. And you could see the smile on his face, like he felt good about it. He's like, we put on a good show, and I'm like, no, you guys put on a great show. And I could see how great he felt about that.
Jesse Hoffmeister built that Y-framer, and he ended up right there down at the very end, along with Craig Birkenpass. Jesse Hoffmeister with Team Hoffmeister, Craig Birkenpass with Team Black and Yellow. Craig is backed up and hung on the berm. Jesse breaks his stick off. The red flag comes out after we wait 60 seconds. Was second place then given to the 65?
No, what happened was we had Team WFO
Right.
had a car running.
Mm-hmm.
He had made a hit before the yellow and black one. So we had him about 8 seconds ahead of the yellow and black car.
Mm-hmm.
And so when Hoffmeister shoved the black and yellow car into the berm, there wasn't going to be another opportunity for him to make a hit. Jesse Hoffmeister had second place. But by breaking his own stick,
Yes.
took him and automatically said, basically, we quit.
Right.
So once they
So that froze
backed up,
him.
that froze his time.
Okay.
He was 26 seconds approximately ahead of the other 2 cars. So granted, he missed second place by roughly 25 seconds.
So if he had not broke the stick, he was second place.
But he missed.
Yes.
He would have missed third place overall.
Yes.
But he also missed being the second team by 26 seconds. So the black and yellow team is the one that goes into
break
the main
your
pool
stick.
next year with JYD.
Never break your stick.
And it's and this is, again, it's
Never.
this crazy track, and we can say never break your stick, but we're not the guy in there taking the pounding.
Yeah.
His leg is so bruised and beaten up, and in my mind I'm going, what are you thinking, bud? And then you get in there and see him, he can't get out of his car already.
Yeah.
Can he take another beating for 25 seconds?
I see what you're saying.
And that's Mike Wirth is pounding him through the dirt.
Yes.
And JYD ran so hard and set the tempo so fast that it would have been a tall order to say, hey, the other 3 of us want you to sacrifice your body for 30 seconds and probably take at least 4 to 5 more shots as hard as he's coming, and your car has nowhere to give.
Yeah.
You're in the dirt.
Yeah,
You're feeling every shot at probably 35 miles an hour.
Very intense. You're absolutely right. Now that you're kind of, because I know me, I would be, I mean, that's exciting. I mean, that's very cool.
And what's crazy is the other thing on his mind that it even takes you to another level is you just blew up your own motor.
I know.
When he hit him in the corner nose to nose, it broke everything out of Jesse Hoffmeister's car. I mean, he blew up his own motor to do it and couldn't hang on for those extra 25 seconds, which I don't fault him. Man, I guarantee he's having a hard time walking this morning.
Sam, you made some small
We've seen 6
adjustments
blown
to
motors,
your,
I think.
to your rules this year. You've seen more old iron. You've seen wagons this year. You got to be pretty happy with how that turned out. I mean, because the wagons have showed well. The Mopars, I mean, the Shockers, the Cordobas. I mean, as a whole, I mean, I think it really added to the show. I mean, you got to be pretty happy with that also.
I am. One thing that we've noticed is we're no longer a Midwest promoter at this show, and that has been really obvious this week. What we may call something in the Midwest, they don't call it the same thing in Pennsylvania, Kentucky, Canada.
Exactly.
It is crazy. So what we're doing, all promoters typically write their own rules. I'm going to take a little bit different approach. I'm letting the team captains of the national championship qualifying teams for next year, those 16 teams, are going to help me write my rules.
Very cool.
So what we're doing is we had a meeting on Friday and got the basics of what they would like. And these rules are probably going to be approximately 30 pages long. What we've done is they want very, very detailed rules. And so what we are going to do is we're going to write the first draft. That first draft will be to all my teams by December 15th. Wow. They have till January 31st to get me back revisions. After January 31st, we will have a conference call with all 16 teams on what the revisions were and the consensus was. We will go over everything. The vendors have till then to show us any new parts that they would like to have considered in the new rules, at that conference call, we'll go over all new parts and show them basically through a podcast type conference call of what the vendors would like us to consider. Bryant Narrett's working on some stuff. Some of the other vendors are working on some new things to say, hey, would you consider this stuff? It won't change your show. I don't know if the drivers want it. Things that I thought the drivers wanted this year, they didn't. Things that I didn't want, they wanted. I don't care. I will enforce whatever rules they want. It does not matter to me. So they want to keep them hard. There's no question.
Yep.
But they want to be very specific. So our rules for Blizzard Bash 2015 will be out by February 15th.
Wow.
So it will take us 2 months.
So you're going to relax then when you get done, huh, Sam?
No, on Monday morning I will start.
Man.
We've been making notes all weekend. So Monday morning we'll start working on the first draft.
That's crazy.
awesome.
Say, would you consider yourself a details guy?
Very much so. Very much so. I drive my crew insane because if we say that we're doing something at 6 o'clock at 6:05, I'm freaking out.
That's funny.
I'm the opposite of you, sir. I'm pretty mellow.
No, I'm definitely.
You got a great drive. It's awesome to see as a promoter. Your attitude is so great. I mean, to say I want to, well, you just said I want to enforce what the drivers want. Think of a promoter our way that would ever say something like that. They don't care about what we want. Half of them don't even care. You know, I mean, just that you said that. I mean, that's like that ringing in my ears. You know.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times
point.
just this year in inspection line with one car or another sitting there, being under the microscope, where the inspector says, "Well, the rules are the rules. If you don't like it, load it up." That is way disrespectful. You know what I mean? You know, it's this dynamic because sometimes I'm on the side of the promoter, sometimes I'm on the side of the driver. Where the driver, you shouldn't have brought something in that's going to be cheated. But if it's a gray area, you don't have to be so just overtly dismissive of it because that guy's going to tell a lot of people, and you're not just going to lose one car. You might lose a couple.
That's why I've been even a little bit more short with some of the promoters when I've been at home this year because it's like they're so ignorant. It sounds like I was in inspection line here. Guys, when they saw something, they explained it, and then they let the guys say, well, blah, 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 okay. And then I heard some fantastic conversations. I was like really interested in some of these guys. And then they worked together, and it was like, I really liked how your inspectors attacked issues. They weren't just mad and screaming and it's wrong, and it's like, okay, let's, but there were some things that were just like, no. And but I'll say they were just they gave that same kind of answer to everybody. It's like that's absolutely not. We've said absolutely not the whole time, and they were really precise a lot of times.
And if you were a driver, you were allowed to be in inspection as much as you wanted to.
I mean that was a great thing. Sam enabled us to come over and watch his inspectors, which was awesome. But the thing I liked is 9 times out of 10, if the inspectors found something, they'd bring it to the driver's attention and. Of course, the driver would be like, no, that's not what I was trying to do. But then, again, 9 times out of 10, the inspector and the driver would get to be laughing about it. Okay, maybe I pushed a little bit, and maybe you found it. You did. What are you going to do? It's part of the game. Yep. But then, and I saw Sam himself in there going, all right, if you do this just a little bit here and, do this, then we can run it. The driver's like, all right, I understand that. That's cool. But, and it's great to see because, like Josh said, I mean, you don't see that enough.
And, everybody gets a little bit frustrated with our inspection. I guarantee you, we are the longest inspection crew in the country. We go for hours, but because we'll listen to the drivers, it would be so much easier if I just went cut, don't talk, go.
That's what they do.
And that's what a lot of at what I've seen at other big shows or even county fairs. That's what they do. And so what we take the approach of we're gonna talk to you about it because. Number one, we're going to respect you as a car builder, and we're probably pushing 20 minutes a car to get them through because we're gonna talk about a lot of different points. But it's such a fine line as a promoter of getting the cars to a consistent set of rules and saving the perception of the show.
Yeah, and
that's my deal all the time. Is you may have got me on a gray area, but if it is just going to ruin my show. We just can't do it. And it only takes a couple cars to absolutely destroy a show.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Can you guys look up in the bleachers now? You can actually see the top.
Yeah.
Last night you could not see up there.
We have the perfect storm as the bad thing. We have a ton of people in here, which is awesome. We love the people in here, but that's a lot of carbon dioxide being breathed. Yeah. The other bad thing is it's very warm inside. Yeah. It's very cold outside. The heat in this building is just giving our exhaust fans absolute fits. We can't get the junk air through the heat because of the cold air is holding us in. The cold air has built a cap over this building. Yeah. What's nice is the county commissioners came down last night. We have got such an influx in the income in this community. They are actually looking at creating bond issues and everything else to get us better ventilation in this building.
That is awesome.
So they cannot lose this event, nor do they want to cap attendance.
That's awesome. Now, Sam, we obviously, I mean, Josh was on the track last night, but I mean, as a Derby fan, because obviously you are, what's it like to stand down on the floor and look up and see this place? I mean, it's got to be easy 3/4 full, if not, I mean, 7/8 or 15/16 full. I mean, as a Derby fan, just take off the promoter hat, but I mean, as a Derby fan who started out, knocking windows out as we all did, I mean, what's it like as a Derby fan to stand here and look in a building that full for a demolition derby?
It's awesome, and what makes me feel so good is the only reason they're coming is to watch guys drive hard.
Yeah,
that's it. It is purely demolition derby. Yeah. There's no gimmicks. There's no anything of we're just going to go kick the crap out of a ton of cars. Yeah. And that's what I love about it. When we first rented this facility, the general manager said, you cannot put a demolition derby in this size of a facility. It will not work. Financially, it does not work. Mm-hmm. After the first night of our guys driving this hard 5 years ago, he come down and he said, I've never seen anything like it. We'll have you back every year. Yeah. And I'm telling you, these drivers have proven. Speedway Motors was here. They were scheduled to only be here for a few hours the first day. They haven't left yet.
No.
They can't believe it.
That's how they set a spot up out here on the upper
they can't,
Oh, really?
They can't,
awesome.
believe it. He said, we had no clue we are going to get behind the sport of demolition derby.
After we got done talking, Kenny Rosno was standing back here and we were talking, and he said that Speedway Motors came up to him and said, hey, we heard you drive hard. Can we put our GoPro in your car? And after he picked his jaw up and quit drilling, yes, sir, you can put your GoPro in my car. That is awesome.
So cool.
So, I mean, it's, and that's the thing, I talked about O'Reilly Auto Parts. I mean, how many guys did we see from here that had to go to O'Reilly's and get parts in order to
O'Reilly
possibly make the inspection, and B, they fix stuff to get back to run yesterday.
Yeah. O'Reilly, if you call them, they would deliver parts, right? They were doing
absolutely
parts runs?
all the way up till today. Today, you have to go get them yourself. But when Sean, who is our O'Reilly's rep, went into the O'Reilly store, they had radiators stacked aisles deep, and they went through most of them.
But I mean,
it's crazy.
I mean,
nice.
obviously, it's great to have a big chain like that step up. But I mean, they beat a bunch of other guys to the punch. I mean, because now they realize what kind of money they can make with the Derby guys. And it's great. I mean, they're stepping up to help us. We're helping them. It's mutual. It's great.
What they can't believe is the commitment level. Oh. And they said, they looked over Ryan Slonganowski's motor a lot, and then they watched him blow up a $10,000 motor in the middle of the track. They looked over Pete Hansen's motor a lot and couldn't believe some of the parts on that motor. Oh, yeah. As he's sitting down here smoking that motor at $20,000 for that motor.
Oh yeah.
The Speedway guys are like, our racers put 20,000 in their motors. We get that, but they will not stand there and blow it up just for the crowd.
No,
and that they cannot believe the commitment to the sport. No. It's unreal.
And I don't know if you were. I
never thought about it that way.
I don't know which end of the track you were on for that heat last night, but we sat here and we commented that when Pete was sitting down here hung up, when the smoke finally cleared, you could see probably 15, 20 foot of burnt rubber behind his tires.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it looked like somebody was down there doing a burnout before taking a run down a dragway. I mean, that was to try to keep moving, just to get moving again so he could continue. I mean, it's incredible.
People don't understand the atmosphere. My biggest problem in this building is people taking off early. Yeah. We go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah.
The problem is they want to go at 3 because they're so amped up. I shake every driver's hand when they come in, and what I tell them, and when you see me shake their hand, is, "Hey, thanks for coming to my show. Good luck today. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you."
Yep.
And when they come through, they are almost every hand is shaking so bad, just with pure adrenaline. The feeling in this building when we go, I mean, until you come here, you'll never. I mean, it's insane.
And Kenny Rosno threw the chip out the sunroof before they started.
On 3. It's just again from top to bottom. I mean, and I don't know if you heard it or not, but I mean, my favorite, without doubt, my favorite thing that you guys did was the video piece for the kids before the Power Wheels.
Yeah, that's
I
fun.
mean that was so incredible. And then obviously the fallen drivers. I mean that really hit hard. But I mean, the way you guys encompass everything together, it just from top to bottom. I mean, and I know you're going to improve, but my first time here, this is just absolutely amazing. I mean, and we've been telling guys, if it's got to be on the bucket list, and if there's any way, you got to make it out. So,
and even with the kids one, listening to your guys' podcast that last Monday and listening to you guys, I'm like, listen. They're describing the song. They're describing what these kids are. It's kind of fun. We go through inspection with the kids, I inspect everyone. I ask them if they cheated, if their dad helped them out, what they do this for, what they do that for, and we flip their cars over. And we go through the whole thing. All 48 of those little boogers got inspected, and it is 2 hours out of my day. But you know what? Those kids sit there and they are beaming from ear to ear, and it is so much fun to watch them come in here. But the more fun is to watch their dads, just that glimmer in their eye of going, hey. That's my kid coming up.
And that's the thing is we were sitting up here yesterday talking, and we said something about how you treat the youth kids, the Power Wheels, as well as you treat the other drivers. And then I corrected myself and I said, you know what? I said, really, in all honesty, Sam treats those kids better.
Absolutely.
I mean, you really,
That's for sure.
you really, make them feel part of the show. I mean, on your website for Blizzard Blast, every one of those kids that ran last year, there's a picture of you and him shaking hands by the,
Absolutely.
And I mean, and that's the thing, and again, it's not saying that you treat any of the other drivers poorly, but you just do so much for those kids and make them feel so important. And I mean, and those 48 kids, 38 of them. 40 are going to derby for life because of that experience.
Well, think of that hook. I mean, think of you're 7 years old. You pulling that. I would beg to pull through that gate right there.
Oh, absolutely.
You're 7 years old and you roll in deep
in front of
with the lights
6,500
flashing
people,
and people are cheering. I mean, you want to hook you want to hook somebody, I mean,
And I don't want them to be intimidated. That's the biggest thing. Of those 48, 20 of them won't make eye contact with you.
Yeah,
because they're shy. I got a 3-year-old. I got a 3-year-old that if you try to talk to him and you're overbearing at all, he's done.
Yeah.
And so my whole deal is let's get you comfortable with the environment.
Yeah.
Let's get you excited about the night because otherwise I'm going to have half of them crying and Dad's going to get frustrated because we've worked on this thing. Go out there, Grandma's watching, let's do this. And then I have a pretty stern conversation with the parents and say, hey, these are kids. This is not a
Just for
contest.
fun.
Just
Not
for
at
fun.
all.
I'm telling you what, I have not seen ever else. We'll just say ever. Pretty much the parents are just having a blast. And I said, if you see somebody else's kid, give them a bump. Here's the deal. We want them to be blown away at the experience because then they're going to want to go to the youth class. Then they're going to want to go to this. And before we know it, we got the next generation coming up.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I've seen a bunch of those Power Wheels shows now, and there's always a couple parents who just go the wrong direction with it. I saw one kid who was he got roped a little bit and he got upset and he wanted to get out of the car and he got out, walked over, and his parents were yelling at him, get back in the car, blah 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 blah. And they took him back out into the car and he has to get out again. He got out. And so the parent goes out, grabs him by the arm, grabs the car by the front wheels, marches him right back over to into the crowd, talking down to him and yelling. And, he's a kid.
Yeah,
Wait,
some people
you know
are
what?
just bad
If he only wanted to drive for 5 minutes, let him drive for 5 minutes. That's
Exactly.
it.
Yeah, we
don't
need
you
guys
force
to
it down.
drive for 5 minutes. I mean, look at Josh and I. 5 minutes, we're done.
Yeah.
We need more guys like that out there. It's great.
That's awesome.
Don't go over the top. They're kids. Let them have fun.
Well, how about the one kid that I don't know exactly how it happened, but it tipped up and it kind of dumped him out. That kid knocked it back down, jumped in, it was going in like 2 seconds.
Yeah, that'd be my kid.
That
That would
is
be my
awesome.
kid for sure.
It was so great to watch.
And a lot of it is just setting that if I could say one thing to other promoters, set the perception of the parents. Guys, this is fun. And I keep it fun in inspection.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a blast with the kids. And that's if I can set the tone right from the get-go from noon yesterday all the way through the night, well, we won't have an issue.
Yeah,
Right.
that's great. That is really good.
doing the wheelie?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
It was awesome.
I also liked that the only dually on the track, of course, was the Team Kansas.
Yeah,
It was
imagine
huge.
that. Imagine that. But we were sitting up here. Josh goes, man. He goes, look at F-150s and Escalades. They gotta be the tough.
Yeah, the
vehicles.
Imperials of Power Wheels are Escalades.
Josh Wetmore messaged me when that was going on out in Pennsylvania. He was watching. He goes, by the way, those Jeep Wranglers, they bellied real bad in the middle. Don't bother with those.
Exactly.
You guys have science mapped down to the Power Wheels.
That's great.
That's funny. I built my daughter an Escalade, and they have a bar that runs from the back bumper 3/4 3/4 of the way through, and it's all molded in the plastic. And I showed it to my daughter. I said, "These are like the Imperials." And then I see the Ford F-150, a little older version one, and it's got some metal underneath. It's all factory. I went, "Oh, that's what I'm getting. There's what my 3-year-old's getting." So even as a derby builder, you just can't help yourself.
Well, I looked through a couple of them, and you can see the dads have bolted bolts together or zip screw or just like little things. It's like this guy sat and looked at it just like you would look at his Impala in the garage,
Absolutely.
That's kind of neat.
Well, we've been doing this thing for an hour already. Again,
breakfast.
I know you guys got
Actually, it's lunch, buddy. It's 11.
Yeah, you guys got to go. You guys got to go eat. I know we got to go talk to some people. We've got to get the stuff situated for audio on the other side, and we're actually going to have the opportunity to pack some of the stuff and put it away since it hasn't been back in its cases since Thursday. But Sam, congratulations on a great show. Been awesome.
Guys.
We're looking forward to the feature tonight. Thanks for coming up and hanging out with us, guys. We're heading towards the conclusion of Blizzard Bash 2014. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us, and I think that's going to do it for the Crash Course live portion of it. We still have tons more to do. Make sure you jump over to blizzardbash.com, follow the buttons. It's the blue button first. That'll get you to the pay window. You can select the last red button at the bottom, and it'll let you tune in pay-per-view live right there at home, provided by the Kansas Expo Center. If you have any questions, follow up with those guys. Everybody's been loving the stream.
Good.
Two things. Go back and watch last night's final heat. It was just unbelievable if you fell asleep. And today, Pro Mods, which I know guys out east have never seen nothing like it. Just you got to tune in today. It's just gonna be unbelievable. Watch these.
And I'm gonna throw one little thing in on that. What's really gonna be cool about the Pro Mods is Jason Brudensky's jumping his car in there, and so you got a way overbuilt. You got a very well built. I'll just use that so I don't get myself in trouble. You got a very well built '80s car who is going to go out and play with the Pro Mods that runs like a striped ape. It's going to be fun to watch.
It's going to be fun. Absolutely.
Appreciate it, guys, and we'll be back here a little bit later on. And have fun with the pay-per-view. We'll see you next time.
The Crash Course Live is presented by Ultimate Derby, O'Reilly Auto Parts, and Speedway Motors, DerbyKeys.com, Mirrored Slider Shaft, Old One Racing Engines, Performance Rear Ends, and Chambliss Welding.